power stations are becoming more and more popular. In fact, a lot of folks are looking at ditching their custom systems, their Victron, their Battleborn, and just switching to all-in-one units. So we're going to take a look at that today. I'm going to take you through a day living in my van, show you all the different electronics I use, how much energy they consume, and we'll see if a single power station could in fact replace all your standalone individual components. All right, so here's the setup we're working with today. Down here we got the Bluetti Apex 300. So the Bluetti has three really nice expansion ports. It has this 120 or 240 volt, 50 amp in or output. But then over here it has a 30 amp, 120 volt output and also a 50 amp. So we're going to be using the 30 amp today. So what I've done here is I went ahead and turned off my inverter. So if we take a look at it, you can see output load is 0 volts. So the inverter is turned off. And what I've done is I've opened up my breaker box and I connected this 30 amp plug. So we're going to plug this into the Bluetti and that will send the power from the 30 amp Bluetti output directly into my 120 volt breaker, and that will power all of my indoor loads. The espresso machine, the induction cooktop, the vent fan, my Starlink, my laptop, my TV, and most importantly, my mini split air conditioner. So there it is, 30 amp connectors plugged in, sending the power directly into my 120 volt breaker box. So now we'll go ahead and fire up the Apex 300. Boom. And there it is. You can see it's currently at 100% battery charge. We have 0 DC in and out, 0 AC in and out. And I'll show you guys before we start, there's no power. My vent fan doesn't work. The lights don't come on. The induction cooktop is all dead. No power. So now we're going to pull up the app. The nicest thing about the Bluetti is the app they have is super user friendly. And there it is. And so this is kind of our basic interface. And so now what we'll do is we'll go ahead and turn on the AC down here. Turn on the AC output. And there we go. Did you hear the beeps? That was my devices kicking on. And then you saw already it went to 158 watts output. So the Bluetti is currently powering some devices within my tiny home on wheels. We got the induction cooktop working now. We got the light working. So we're in business. Also, the Starlink should be powered on. There it is right there. If you can see that little dot down in the corner. So I really like to have this advanced monitoring system so you can really get an idea of like how much energy you're using at any given point. We're currently down to 133 watts. And so it seems like that's probably kind of the standard of how much energy my system uses, or my home on wheels uses when I'm just chilling. I don't have anything turned on except the Starlink, but everything else is basically in sleep mode. It's kind of cool too, just to see how much each device uses as you turn it on. We'll see what the vent fan uses. I'll turn on first the light. And that basically doesn't even pull 164. Okay, so about 30 watts maybe for the light. We'll kick on the fan. Dang, 40 watts for the fan. And then we'll kick on the induction cooktop. 683 watts. We'll take a look at the display on the Bluetti as well. And there you can see the same thing, 100% battery, 646 watts going out. And it tells us this battery pack would last 4.2 hours if we kept going at this pace. Let's make some breakfast. I'm hungry. Oh yeah, we got the little baby tomatoes. We do have a little bit of ground turkey left. And we got the eggs. 4 eggs for breakfast every day. That's the Nomad Brad diet. So for those of you that watch my channel, you know that typically, or in general, I recommend a full custom electrical system like what I have down there with the separate batteries and the inverter charger and all the components. However, power stations are finally getting to the point where they're like robust enough that you could just about justify exclusively using a power station in your build out. And this Bluetti one, keep in mind, this is more designed to be a home backup unit than it is a portable power station. It's pretty big, pretty heavy, you know, but that's how it's able to output so much power and also store so much energy in the batteries. The thing I really like about this Apex 300 is that it has a 3800 watt power inverter. So that's even larger than my custom inverter. Mine's only 3000 watts. So it's capable of delivering a ton of power. The onboard battery bank is 2700 watt hours, which is pretty large. And then additionally, you can get additional battery units to stack up on top of it. So you could build kind of as big of a system as you want. Currently, my house batteries are about 10,000 watt hours. So you could easily build a 10,000 watt hour system off of this Apex 300. But what's cool about it is it accepts up to 2400 watts of solar input. So plenty of solar panels can be connected to it. And then additionally, it has this DC output junction box where you could basically power your entire 12 volt low voltage system directly off the Bluetti, which is pretty cool because for the most part, that's the one place where power stations are typically lacking. They only put out like maybe 20 amps at 12 volts. But this one puts out a lot more than that. And so you could easily, just how I plugged in that 30 amp 120 out into my breaker box, you could run a line directly from the DC out box to a 12 volt fuse holder. And then from there, you can power all your devices, your water pump, your LED lighting, your refrigerator, your diesel heater. So basically all you need is the Bluetti Apex 300, however many batteries you want, and then a 120 volt fuse box and a 12 volt fuse box, and you can build an entire home on wheels. And I'll give you guys a little preview of the current situation. Currently 89 degrees outside, 80 degrees inside. So it's getting a little warm, but I have the windows open. The van's insulated pretty well. So if there's a slight breeze and I have the windows open, then it doesn't get uncomfortable in here. I think we should go ahead and turn on the TV and the air conditioner right now so we can do a test with everything running at the same time. Let's go ahead and do that. We got the Starlink running so we can fire up some YouTube. So this was my first destination for my summer road trip through Arizona, and the first place that I come, there's no cell service. So I'm super happy that I did purchase Starlink and I installed it, and it's been super nice. I'm not gonna lie. Let's see who we got on YouTube. Lydia Rico. You guys follow Lydia Rico? I met her in San Diego. She's pretty cool. She's really out there doing it.
You produce your own electricity, collect your own water, and have your sewage system, then you're off the grid. I really like this lifestyle because you do not depend on...
She does good with her filming. Her videos are so beautiful. So I'll give you guys a little update on the app. You can see we're at 602 watts, and that's with the cooktop, everything else going with the TV, with the Starlink. We'll kick on this AC, see what it bumps up to. So we're up to 1.3 kilowatts, 1300 watts. We're only using about 30% of the capacity of this Apex 300. So you can see, you could definitely use that to run your entire tiny home on wheels. So my little egg scramble is looking pretty good. I think we're done. We're gonna go ahead and cut it off. So the other cool thing about the Apex 300 is that, of course, you can charge it with solar panels, but additionally, you can plug in the Charger 1, which is their DC to DC charger, which allows you to charge up the Apex 300 off your alternator while your vehicle's driving. So I believe the main reason most folks are really interested in using power stations is due to the simplicity. You don't have to understand wire size, and you don't have to do a bunch of technical work. You're not cutting and crimping and stripping. It's pretty straightforward. And the reason I've always been against power stations is just because you couldn't do as much with them. It was still pretty limited. But I think this Apex 300 would be a perfect solution for somebody that wants a full-featured electrical system. They want DC to DC charging. They want to install a lot of solar. and they want something that has big expandability and also puts out a lot of watts. But you know, in all fairness, keep in mind, it's not all roses. I always want to be honest and fair, and I don't want to lead anybody down the wrong path. So the only drawback of a power station, not Bluetti specifically, but any power station, the only drawback is everything is like in one box and it's not serviceable. So if one feature or portion of your power station goes out, your only option is to send it in for repair or buy a new one. And if you're a nomad living in your vehicle, you can't afford to ship off your entire power station. You know, if, say, for example, that the DC charging portion fails, or maybe the 30 amp portion internally fails, or something happens to the inverter, right? So if one little thing happens, you got to deal with the whole unit, buy a whole new one. Let's see how we're doing on battery. You guys take a peek there. We're at 90% capacity, currently pulling 676 watts. I'm going to close down the windows, and that'll allow the air conditioner to get the room down to temperature, and then we'll see what kind of energy the system uses once the AC is done. All right, Lydia Rico, let's do it. Let's see what she's up to.
One of the most important things that I think you really need to have is a jump starter. I use this a couple times for myself and way more times for other people, to be quite honest.
All right, so it's been a couple hours now. Let's do a quick time and temperature check. We've had the AC blasting. Currently 12:57 p.m., 90 degrees outside, 77 degrees inside. I've told you guys the temperatures feel a lot different inside of a vehicle. So, you know, if you're a normal house dweller, you usually keep the air conditioner probably around 72 or maybe down to 70 if you're, you know, if you like it extra cold. But for some reason, being in the box truck with the AC running and that cold air blowing directly on you, it just feels more comfortable at a higher temperature. Like this right now to me is cold. It feels like 70 degrees. The air's blowing on me. And honestly, I'm pretty chilly. Like I'm thinking about just turning the air conditioner off because it's like, it's too cold. I mean, at this point I need to put pants on or something. So I might just turn the AC down a little bit, bump it up. Currently 70% battery remaining. You can see all the specs right down there. 344 watts of energy currently being used. If we kept up at this rate, we would have over 5 hours left. And then I'm just going to continue about my day. You know, the whole point of this video is just to show kind of what I do in an average day, how much energy I use. See if the Apex 300 is up to the test. So I think I'm going to go ahead and hop on the laptop, do a little editing. Hello friends, welcome back. It's currently 4:32 p.m. It's time for a late lunch or an early dinner. Let's check on the Bluetti, see how we're doing. So we're currently sitting at a 33% battery charge, using 121 watts right now. And according to the little time estimator, we got 8 hours and 54 minutes remaining if we stayed at this current energy consumption. But we're not going to do that. We're going to make some lunch, baby. We're going to kick this thing up a notch. There it is. We got the steak going. Yes, sir. I'm going to have a little seat. 904 watts. So one thing to consider with this power station, you know, we've been watching it all day. It's been, let's see, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's been about 6 hours. It's been running, supplying power to all this stuff, keeping me moving. It's down to 30%. But keep in mind, that's with zero input. For most people that are using this, you're going to have solar panels on the roof. And so if you have 1,000, 1,200 watts of solar, that's probably going to cover most of your usage throughout the day. And so the battery bank isn't really going to get that depleted. Check this out. It has 2 sets of DC input ports, right? These are like your XT60s. And so their thought was you can either run solar panels or you can run an alternator charger. And so that's what I have plugged in right here. One of these lines goes to our pair of solar panels. And then I have two sets of Bluetti's PV350 350 watt solar panels. So combined, we should be able to pull about 700 watts. And they give you all the cabling you need. So we have two strings of solar panels here, but they gave us a branch connector. So we're able to run both of those through just one plug. So that's going to be one of these plugs is the solar panel, and then the other plug goes to the Bluetti DC to DC charger. And the Apex 300 is super quiet. All right, so the Instant Pot just finished. I went ahead and pulled out a piece of steak. There we go. Yeah, just about perfect for me. And we'll take a look at the Bluetti. Down to 19% battery, 306 watts. Well, we're down to 19% battery. I don't know how far down it's going to go before it cuts out. But you know, the main goal of the video today was to just kind of show you guys what appliances I use in my tiny home on wheels on a daily basis. And then additionally, how much energy each device consumes, how long we use each device for, to kind of give you an idea. And the second part of this video was to determine if the Apex 300 could, one, output enough power to run all these devices, which it clearly did, and then additionally just see how long we could use it strictly off the battery without any solar input. So I think we did a pretty good test today. We could clearly see that I really never pulled even close to 2,000 watts. And this inverter does like 3,800. So we have, the inverter is plenty capable. You could do so much more with it. And then additionally, I showed how you could hook it in to your existing breakers and power all the outlets inside your vehicle. So that's pretty handy with that 30 amp shore power. And keep in mind, we ran everything without solar off the battery. And so if you guys were going to do a setup like this in your tiny home, you would basically just buy one expansion battery and you're good to go. So that's it. I think we did a pretty good test. I'm happy with it.